Okay, let's consider the pitches of different musical instruments. Now, for musical instruments, the larger instrument is usually lower in pitch. And also here, when I'm talking about things regarding to sounds, I'm going to talk about pitch, and we need to understand that pitch is related to or is proportional to frequency. So if my frequency increases, then I get a high pitch. High, low, or if you want to switch it back and forth and confuse your friends, you could say high, low, high, low. All right. Anyway, pitch is the frequency. A higher frequency is a higher pitch. A lower frequency is a lower pitch. When I'm talking about volume or loudness, this is proportional to my amplitude of my sound wave. So, these sound waves are pressure waves. So I have an area of high pressure right here where the molecules are all clumped together. And then I have a low pressure where they're all spread apart. High pressure, low pressure, high, low. In fact, sometimes these compressional waves are called pressure waves, because you have areas of high and low pressure. And if you think about the eardrum, the eardrum is this little membrane here. When the high pressures come next to the eardrum, they push it in this direction. When the low pressures come next to the eardrum, they pull it in that direction, and that causes your vibrations of your eardrum. So if I have a bigger amplitude, that means I'm going to have a higher pressure and a lower pressure here, and that's going to cause your eardrum to go back and forth more and more with a greater amplitude, and hence you have a greater volume. Okay, now for this, the larger instruments usually are lower in pitch. For example, consider a tuba, which I used to play, versus a piccolo. And piccolo is a little bitty thing. It's smaller than a flute. And a tuba is a very large thing. In fact, that's the reason why men. Okay, you get the idea. There's my guy. Men typically have a lower voice because the neck and just in general, the man is just larger and they produce a lower pitched voice than most women do. Although that's not always the case. It's affected by other things as well. But typically, that is true, that men have a lower voice because they're bigger than women. Now, for a vibrating string, like on a guitar, for example, we can calculate the frequency. It is dependent upon the length, 1 over 2L. It's also dependent upon the tension in the string and the mass density. So here L is the length of the string in meters, T is the tension, the force that's in the string, and then mu is the mass density. The mass density is given in kilograms per meter. It tells you per unit mass or per unit length what is the mass of this string. You're probably familiar with this, or if you ever play a stringed instrument of any kind, you probably understand that if the length of the string goes up, then the frequency goes down. If the tension in the string goes up, then the frequency goes up as well. And if the mass density, if I just have heavier strings, if that goes up, then my frequency will go down. It'll be a lower pitched. Let's see, I have a picture here of a double neck guitar. This has a bass guitar up here, and look at the strings. Notice that the strings are longer. So if I have a longer string, that will have a lower pitch, because it's that 1 over 2L. So it's an inverse relationship. And then notice here, these are higher pitched treble clef. They have shorter strings. They go from here, where it picks up, all the way up to here. All right, so quite a bit shorter strings. And then also, if we just look at the strings, this is the bass guitar. Notice that this is the low string. Do you notice anything about it? Of course, it's a lot heavier. It's just a bigger, thicker string. And so it's going to produce, because it has a higher mu, or a higher mass density, it will produce a lower frequency of sound. And then the higher pitched string, this is the G string, it will produce a higher pitched sound because it is a lower mass density. High mass density, like on the E string up here, will produce a low pitch. Lower mass density will produce a high pitch because of that inverse relationship, that 1 over square root of mu. Also, one other thing, notice up here, these are your tuning keys, and you have these on all stringed instruments. They allow you to change the tension in a guitar string or in any stringed instrument, whether it's a piano or a violin or a bass or a guitar. Um, if you change the tension, if you increase the tension, it increases the pitch. So you make the tension get higher, that increases the pitch. Okay, so that's it for musical instruments, and we'll come back to that, but I'm going to stop for this moment.